Welcome to Created to Write, the podcast where we turn blank pages into finished work. Whether you're just starting out or ready to take your writing to the next level, you'll find encouragement, honest conversations, and practical strategies to help you grow in confidence, creativity, and craft. Grab your notebook and pen, open your laptop. Let's create words that impact the world together. Today, I have with me Jacquelane. Welcome to the show, Jacquelane.
Thanks for having me, Michelle.
Tell us a little bit before we dive in, your most amazing moment in writing so far.
Well, the most amazing moment. Of course, that would be the opposite of getting those numerous rejection letters when you send them into publishers. So I can pinpoint that moment when I went to one of the writers' conferences here in Australia. I was particularly looking for an interview that I was going to have with the publisher. And unfortunately, that publisher had cancelled at the very last minute. So I was rather disappointed. And I was looking around for the organizer of those interviews. And she just so happened to be with a publisher at that time. And she threw at me and said, well, such and such is the publisher. Would you like to pitch? And it was one of those moments where the things go through your head where you've always been told you need to have a 2-minute elevator pitch or whatever it is. And I was so tongue-tied, but I managed to pitch 2 stories to her, to this publisher. And she said, I'm interested in the first one, not so much the second one. But you know what? It was that moment where it's like, this is an open door. I sent that story to her that she was interested in, and she accepted it. So you just never know those special moments. It was definitely a God moment
Yeah.
because that was my first traditional publishing journey, and it was such a great opportunity. And that's really opened doors for me. So
Awesome.
I'd say that was one of my most amazing, if not the most amazing moments as a writer for
I
now.
can
Yeah.
imagine it would have been daunting and amazing at the same time.
Yes. So I would say, yes, be ready with those pictures.
Yes.
Always.
Practice the pitch. Practice the pitch.
Yeah.
And tell me, why do you write?
This is a question I often ask myself because, as you know, as writers, it's such a solitary, it seems sometimes such a lonely activity because you have to do it all by yourself. And there are times when you feel like you're climbing a mountain and you just think, I can't get to the end. I can't figure out the climax. I can't even figure out the hook. Why do I write it? And I always seem to come back to number one, I feel like there is a need for me to write it. It's almost like breathing for me. If I don't write, I feel like I'm not able to express all the things that's going on in my head and in my heart. So I have to do it. It's like somebody who loves crochet. They just have to crochet. They have to sit down and crochet in front of the television. For a runner, they have to get up and do their daily run. For me, I feel like if I don't write, there's something that I'm not doing. So call it a calling from God or a really, really strong desire. But at the same time, I feel like I have stories in my heart, or God has stories that He has put in my heart to tell people. And a lot of that is to do with love, because I feel like we are in the most divine romance, the most wonderful love story that there is, in that God pursues our heart. He desires our heart, and He loved us first, and He wants us to love Him. And so when I write, I want to try and reflect that in my characters, that they're not perfect and they're not Christ Himself. They're not messiahs, but there's something about them that's redeemed, something about them that reflects God's love or Christ's love for the church. And I think that's really ultimately what I want to express.
Wow, that's beautiful. Love that. And with all that beauty and desire that you have, is there any lie that you've had to fight off that goes on internally as a writer?
Everybody is familiar with the imposter syndrome. Every time you get to a point, sometimes where you feel like, yes, this is it. I'm there. Something will just pop up, whether it's, after maybe an edit or somebody's given you some feedback, or even yourself. You think, why am I doing this? I don't deserve to tell my story. who would want to read my story? And nobody's ever going to read your story. It's not going to matter to anyone. And those lies often, they could be so crippling. But when those times happen, I have to go back to God and I have to say, okay, Lord, if you don't want me to do this, I surrender it to you. I give it back to you. Take it away from me if I don't, if I'm not meant to do this. And it's always when I go back to God that the desire comes back to write. So I've often cried about this to other fellow writers, and they say, you're not the only one who experienced that imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
It's a lie that we all have to tackle. We all have to get over and trust God. If
I
we truly
agree.
believe that we are called to
Mm,
write and He wants us to write something, He'll help us get through that
mm.
obstacle or wall.
So, would you say that faith has really shaped how you write and how you approach it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've written some books when I was first starting off that weren't exactly, you wouldn't call them Christian books or faith-based books, but I've always wanted them to be family friendly, clean and wholesome and have some sort of moral or lesson to them because I feel that God's calling to us is to be like Him or to exemplify Him and to show His love. So when I'm writing now, a lot of it goes through my head where it's like, yeah, I want to write faith-based novels because I want to specifically talk about my faith. But at the same time, I think that we can still write stories that are not directly, that don't always mention God every second page, but can still be wholesome and still have a good have a good story, but also have a good lesson in it. But overall, I feel like that my faith plays into that. A lot of people would probably want to call me or my books old fashioned in in the messages that I want to portray or want to share. But I would say I want them to be God fashioned. So that's, yeah, faith plays a big role in what I write.
Yeah, your books are beautiful. I've read a couple of them.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
love them. They're really enjoyable. People grab Jacqueline's books. Jacquelane Cox, go find them.
Yes, thank you.
And have you made any mistakes along the way with your writing
Mistakes.
that we can learn from?
Yes, don't. It's probably not so much about the writing craft itself, although I would say yes, go and make sure that your work is edited before you publish them. But I think it's my mistake would probably more to do with the writing journey itself. Don't isolate yourself. Don't think that you're an island unto yourself, and don't think that if you've got a work that you're still working on, that you can't approach other people and journey with them through that. Because I'm finding now that, writing my most latest book, it took me opening up myself and being vulnerable and showing other people that I need help. And somebody was gracious enough to take my hand and walk me through the whole process. I know it sounds so negative, but don't isolate yourself and don't take your writing community for granted.
Mm-hmm.
They're they're your tribe. They're your family, they're your village, and they're the ones who's going to help you
Yeah.
achieve what you want to achieve to get your book baby out.
Yeah. Great advice there. And before we go, do you have any more words of wisdom you'd like to leave the person who hasn't started writing yet or who's put it aside and hasn't finished something?
Yes, right. Um, you know, Finding Nemo, I don't know if you've seen it. I used to watch a lot of cartoons with my children. Finding Nemo, Dory says, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. And I said, if you're a runner, you keep running. If you're a writer, you keep writing. If you haven't started yet, but have that desire in your heart, the burning desire, the voices in your head that you can't quiet down, shh. Write. You have to write. And, a lot of people say just start with something, 5 minutes, write from a writing prompt, or put aside an hour to yourself every morning or at the end of the day when all the kids are in bed. Write. If you are a writer, if you want to be a writer, write. That's it.
Perfect. Great way to end our chat today, Jacquelane. Thank you for joining me here today. And everyone, if you haven't yet hit that like and subscribe button, please do that. I will pop Jacqueline's details in the show notes so you can follow her and find her books to support her as well. And until next time, you were created to create, and perhaps you're created to write. Thanks, Jacquelane.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks for hanging around till the end. If you've enjoyed today's episode, I'd love for you to leave a review and share the podcast with a friend. And while you're at it, jump into your favourite bookseller site and leave a review of a book you've loved reading. Until next time, keep reading, keep writing, and always remember you were created to create, and perhaps you were created to write.